The council chamber fell silent when the human walked in. Ambassador Chun moved with steady steps across the smooth floor, her boots making soft sounds that echoed in the vast space. Around her, representatives from 47 different species watched with eyes that glowed, blinked, or stared from faces that ranged from beautiful to strange. Chun had been to many meetings before, but this one felt different. The air tasted sharp, almost electric. Something important was about to happen. The Cathral ambassador rose from his seat. His body was tall and thin, covered in scales that shifted between blue and green. When he spoke, his voice came out like wind through metal pipes. "The human arrives at last," he said. "We have been waiting." Chun nodded and took her place at the circular table. The seat had been made for her species, which was kind. Many of the other chairs looked uncomfortable, built for bodies with different shapes and needs. "Thank you for inviting Earth to this gathering," Chun said. "We are honored to be here." A sound like grinding rocks came from the left. The Morvith representative was laughing. His people were ancient, older than most civilizations in the known galaxy. They looked like living stone, with bodies that moved slowly but could crush steel with their bare hands. "Honored," the Morvith rumbled. "You should be terrified, little human. Do you know why we called you here?" Chun kept her face calm. She had trained for years to represent Earth among the stars. Nothing would make her show fear, even if she felt it. "I assume you will tell me," she said. The Cathral ambassador sat back down. His long fingers tapped against the table, creating a rhythm that made Chun think of rain. "3 cycles ago, a ship entered our space," he said. "It was not invited. It did not ask permission. It came from a region we had marked as forbidden. Do you know what that ship found?" Chun shook her head. Earth had only been part of the galactic community for 20 years. There were still many secrets they had not learned. "The Devourers," said a new voice. This came from Ambassador Ixtal, whose species looked almost human, but with silver skin and eyes like polished glass. "The ship found evidence of the Devourers. After 10,000 years of silence, they are waking up." The room erupted in noise. Some species made sounds of fear. Others showed anger. A few sat perfectly still, which Chun had learned meant they were deeply troubled. She waited for the noise to die down. Then she asked the obvious question: "What are the Devourers?" The Morvith ambassador leaned forward. For a creature made of living rock, he could move surprisingly fast when he wanted to. "They are the reason the galaxy has rules," he said. "They are why we mark regions as forbiddens. They are why we teach our children to fear the dark between stars." He paused, and Chun saw something in his ancient eyes she had not expected. It was not anger or hate. It was memory, old and painful. Long ago, before your species learned to make fire, the Devourers ruled this part of space. They were not like us. They did not talk or trade or build. They only consumed. Worlds, ships, entire civilizations. They ate everything, and what they ate became part of them. They grew larger, stronger, hungrier. Ambassador Ixtal continued the story. "Every species in this chamber lost something to the Devourers. My people lost 12 colony worlds. The Cathral lost half their population. The Morvith lost their home sun." Chun felt cold. "How did you stop them?" "We did not stop them," the Cathral said. "We put them to sleep. All of us together. Every species that still lived, every ship that could still fly, every weapon that had not been destroyed. We gathered at the edge of what is now the Forbidden Zone. We fought for 300 years. And at the end, we won. But not by killing them. We could not kill them. We could only trap them in a kind of sleep, deep inside a collapsed star." The Morvith's voice was grim. "And now they are waking up." Chun looked around the table. She saw fear on every face, in every set of strange eyes. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked. "Earth is young. We have barely begun to explore space. What can we do against something that defeated all of you working together?" Silence fell again. Then the Cathedral ambassador spoke, and his words changed everything. "Because humans are different," he said. "In 20 years, you have done things we thought impossible. You adapt faster than any species we have ever seen. You learn, you change, you refuse to give up. When your first colony ship crashed on Kepler 442b, everyone thought your people would die. But you survived. You built a new home from the wreckage." Ambassador Ixtal nodded. "When the plague hit your Mars settlement, the cure should have taken decades to find. You found it in 2 years. And when the Krell pirates attacked your trade ships," the Morvith added, "you built a defense fleet in 6 months. Most species need 10 years to design a single warship. You built 50. Chum began to understand. They were not just afraid of the Devourers. They were desperate. "You want us to help you fight," she said. "No," the Cathedral replied. "We want you to help us survive. Because if the Devourers wake fully, this time there will be no victory. This time, we will all be consumed. Unless we find a way to do what we could not do before." He looked directly at Chun. "Unless we find a way to actually kill them. And we think humans might know how." Hen spent 3 days reading everything the Council would share about the Devourers. The files were old, some of them translated to dozens of languages before reaching human words. But the message was clear. The Devourers were not just dangerous. They were extinction made real. She sat in her quarters aboard the Council station, watching data scroll across her screen. The Devourers had no fixed form. They changed shape, adapting to whatever fought them. Weapons that worked once never worked twice. They learned faster than any computer, faster than any living mind. But they had weaknesses. They had to have weaknesses. Nothing was truly invincible. A knock came at her door. Chun looked up to see Captain Sarah Mitchell standing in the doorway. Mitchell commanded the ESS Perseverance, Earth's newest exploration vessel. She was tall, with dark skin and eyes that had seen more of space than most humans ever would. "Ambassador," Mitchell said, "I heard you called for me." Chun nodded and gestured to a chair. "The Council wants Earth's help. They think we can find a way to kill the Devourers." Mitchell sat down slowly. "Can we?" "I don't know," Chun admitted. "But I've been reading their records. Do you know what I noticed?" "Tell me." "Every species here fought the Devourers the same way. They used their biggest weapons, their strongest shields, their best technology. They threw everything at the problem." Mitchell waited. She knew Chun well enough to let her finish. "But humans don't just use technology," Chun continued. "We use tricks. We cheat. We find the weird angle nobody else thought of." A slow smile crossed Mitchell's face. "You want to try something crazy?" "I want to try something they would never expect," Chun corrected. "The Devourers adapt to weapons. They learn from attacks. But what if we don't attack them? What if we make them attack themselves?" Mitchell leaned forward. "I'm listening." Chun pulled up an image on her screen. It showed the structure of a Devourer at the molecular level, taken from ancient scans. "Look at this. They consume matter and energy to grow. But they don't just eat randomly. They target high-energy sources first. They're drawn to power like moths to flame." "So we give them power," Mitchell said, understanding dawning. "More power than they can handle." "Exactly. The Council tried to contain them in a collapsed star. That was smart. It kept them trapped. But what if we did the opposite? What if we woke them up deliberately in a place where they would consume so much energy so fast that they couldn't control their own growth?" Mitchell stood and paced the small room. "You want to overload them," Force feed them until they burst. The problem is location, Chun said. We need somewhere with massive energy, but far from inhabited systems. And we need to make sure the Devourers wake up there, not somewhere else. What about a hypernova? Mitchell suggested. There's one due to explode in the Sigma cluster. The scientists predicted it will happen within the next 5 years. Chun shook her head. Too unpredictable. We need something we can control. Something we can turn on and off. They both thought in silence. Then Mitchell's eyes went wide. The Dyson experiment, she said. The one Earth was planning to build. Chun felt excitement rush through her. The partial Dyson sphere around the test star in the Helios system. It's not finished, but the energy collectors are in place. We could lure the Devourers there, Mitchell said. Let them think they found easy prey. And when they start to feed, we overload the entire system. Release all the stored energy at once. It would destroy the Dyson structure, Chun warned. Better than letting the Devourers destroy everything else. Chun made her decision. I'll present the plan to the council. But Sarah, this is risky. If it fails, we might just make the Devourers stronger. Or we might kill them, Mitchell countered. Isn't that worth the risk? The council meeting the next day was tense. Chun stood before the assembled representatives and explained the human plan. She used simple words and clear diagrams. Some species understood immediately. Others took longer. The Morvith was the first to speak when she finished. This is madness. You want to wake the Devourers on purpose. We want to wake them in a trap, Chun corrected. One they won't see coming because it's not a weapon. It's food. More food than they've ever encountered. The Cathral ambassador's scales shifted through several colors. Chun had learned this meant he was thinking hard. The risk is enormous, he said. If your plan fails, the Devourers will be free and fully awake. We might not get another chance to trap them. If we do nothing, they'll wake up anyway, Chun pointed out. At least this way, we choose the battlefield. Ambassador Ixtal spoke up. I have reviewed the human calculations. The mathematics are sound. If the Devourers absorb energy at the radar records indicate, and if the Dyson collectors release their full charge simultaneously, the resulting reaction should exceed even their ability to adapt. Should, the Morvith rumbled. You say should, but you do not say will. Nothing is certain, Chun agreed. But doing nothing is certain death. This plan gives us a chance. The debate went on for hours. Some species wanted to try other options first. Some wanted to run, to abandon this part of the galaxy entirely. Some thought humans were too young, too inexperienced, too reckless. But in the end, fear made the decision for them. Fear of the Devourers. Fear of extinction. Fear that grew stronger with each passing day as more sensors detected movement in the Forbidden Zone. The vote was close, but it passed. The human plan would move forward. Captain Mitchell returned to the Perseverance and began gathering a fleet. Not a war fleet, a construction fleet. Ships with tools and materials. Engineers and scientists from a dozen species. They would finish the Dyson structure and prepare the trap. Chun stayed with the council, coordinating efforts. She worked with military commanders to plan evacuation routes in case the plan failed. She worked with scientists to refine the energy calculations. She worked with diplomats to keep dozens of nervous species from panicking. And all the while, she watched the Forbidden Zone. Watched the sensors show more activity, more movement. The Devourers were definitely waking up. 3 months passed. The Dyson structure grew larger, more powerful. The energy collectors now surrounded nearly half the test star. The stored power was enormous. More than enough to run Earth for 1,000 years. More than enough, they hoped, to destroy the Devourers. But there was still one problem. How do you make a predator come to you? How do you lure something that has no fear, no curiosity, only hunger? The answer came from an unexpected source. A young human engineer named David Park was working on the energy collectors when he noticed something strange. The collectors gave off a specific frequency when they charged. It was invisible to most sensors, but it would light up like a beacon to anything that fed on energy. "It's like ringing a dinner bell," Park explained to Mitchell. "The Devourers will feel this from light years away." Mitchell smiled. "Then let's ring it loud." They powered up the collectors to full capacity. The energy readings went off the charts. And deep in the Forbidden Zone, something ancient and hungry felt the call and began to move. The Devourers arrived 6 days later. Captain Mitchell stood on the bridge of the Perseverance, watching the long-range sensors with growing dread. The readings made no sense at first. They showed something massive moving through space, but the shape kept changing. One moment, it looked like a cloud. The next, it seemed solid. Then it split into pieces, then merged back together. "How many are there?" she asked her sensor officer. Lieutenant Chun, no relation to the ambassador, stared at his screens. "I can't tell, Captain. The readings suggest anywhere from 1 to 1,000. They might be individual creatures, or they might be one organism with many parts. Distance? 2 light years and closing. Current speed suggests they'll reach the Helios system in 48 hours. Mitchell opened a channel to the entire fleet. 23 ships floated in formation around the Dyson structure. Most were civilian vessels, not built for combat. But each one carried crews who had volunteered for this mission. Humans, Cathrol, Extal, even a few Morvath. All working together. "This is Captain Mitchell," she said, keeping her voice steady. "The Devourers are coming. Everyone knows the plan. We wait until they start feeding. Then we trigger the energy release. Stay at your stations. Stay focused. And remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for everyone." She closed the channel and looked at her crew. They were afraid. She could see it in their eyes. But they were ready too. Ambassador Chun's voice came through on a private channel. "Sarah, the Council is asking for a final status report." "Tell them we're ready," Mitchell replied. "The collectors are at maximum capacity. The trigger mechanism is armed. Once we initiate, there's no stopping it." "Understood. And Sarah? Good luck." The next 48 hours felt like years. The fleet made final preparations. Engineers checked every system twice, then checked again. Medical teams prepared for casualties. Pilots ran evacuation drills. And everyone watched the sensors as the Devourers came closer. When they were finally near enough to see with optical telescopes, Mitchell wished they weren't. The Devourers defied description. They moved like liquid shadow, like darkness given form and hunger. Where they passed, space itself seemed to twist and bend. "They're not approaching the star directly," Lieutenant Chun reported. "They're circling it, studying it." Mitchell felt a moment of fear. What if they sensed the trap? What if they were too smart to fall for such an obvious lure? But then the Devourers began to move inward. Slowly at first, then faster. They reached out with tendrils of darkness and touched the first energy collector. The effect was immediate. Power readings from the collector dropped to 0 in seconds. The Devourers absorbed the energy like water into sand. "They're feeding," Lieutenant Chun said, voice tight. Mitchell watched as more tendrils reached for more collectors. The Devourers spread across the Dyson structure like a stain, consuming everything they touched. But they weren't destroying the collectors. They were draining them. "Energy consumption rate is increasing," her chief engineer reported. "They're taking more and more, faster and faster." Good, Mitchell thought. That was what they needed. Let the devourers gorge themselves. Let them think they had found an endless feast. Captain, they've consumed 40% of the stored energy, the engineer said. Wait, Mitchell ordered. 60%. Wait. 70%. Captain, if we wait much longer, there won't be enough power for the overload. Mitchell's hand hovered over the trigger control. She needed to time this perfectly. Too soon, and the devourers might survive. Too late, and the trap would fail. 80%. The devourers were fully engaged now. Their entire mass wrapped around the Dyson structure, feeding, growing. She could see them expanding, getting larger. 85%. Captain. Now, Mitchell said, and pressed the trigger. Every remaining collector reversed its function. Instead of storing energy, they released it. All at once. Directly into the devourers. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the star at the center of the Dyson structure began to pulse. Brighter, brighter. The light became painful to look at, even through filtered screens. The devourers tried to pull away. Too late. The energy was flowing into them faster than they could adapt, faster than they could change. Their forms twisted and writhed. They tried to split apart, to scatter, but the energy followed them. It poured through them like fire through paper. Energy release at maximum, the engineer shouted over the alarms. The collectors are overloading. The star is destabilizing. All ships retreat, Mitchell ordered. Emergency speed. Get clear of the blast radius. The Perseverance turned and burned hard, engines pushing beyond safety limits. Around them, the other ships did the same. They ran from the growing light, from the massive energy release that was consuming the devourers and everything around them. Mitchell looked back once. The star had gone supernova. Not naturally, but forced by the massive energy release. The light was blinding. At the center of that light, she thought she could see shapes. The devourers, being torn apart by forces too great even for them to absorb Dodd. Then the shockwave hit. Even at this distance, it rocked the ship. Warning lights flashed. Hull plates groaned. But the Perseverance held together, and so did the other ships. When it was over, when the light had faded and the sensors had cleared, Mitchell looked at the readings. Where the Dyson structure had been, there was now only expanding debris and radiation. The star had been destroyed. The collectors were gone. Everything they had built was dust, but the devourers were gone too. Scanning for any signs of survival, Lieutenant Chun said. He worked his controls, checked every frequency, looked for any trace of movement or life. Nothing, Captain. No energy signatures matching the devourers. No movement. No nothing. They're gone. The cheer went up on the bridge. Mitchell allowed herself a small smile. They had done it. They had killed something that the entire galaxy thought was UNKILLABL. Her communications officer spoke up. Captain, we're receiving messages from the council station. They saw everything. They're asking for confirmation. Mitchell opened the channel to Ambassador Chun. We got them. The devourers are dead. She could hear the relief in the ambassador's voice. The council is receiving your censored data now. They're comparing it to their ancient records. So far, everything confirms what you're saying. No traces remain. How are they taking it? Mitchell asked. They're shocked, Chun replied. Some of them are crying. The Morvith representative is just sitting there, staring at nothing. I don't think they believed it would actually work. Neither did I, Mitchell admitted. But we had to try. Over the next few hours, more ships arrived. Science vessels from a dozen species, wanting to study what remained. They scanned the debris field, analyzed the radiation patterns, searched for any possible trace of the DEVOURER stot. They found nothing. The energy overload had been complete. The Devourers had consumed too much, too fast. Their own hunger had destroyed them, but not everyone was celebrating. Mitchell stood in her quarters later that night, looking at the casualty reports. 3 ships had been damaged in the retreat. 2 crew members had been injured when a bulkhead collapsed. Nothing serious, but still a reminder that the plan could have gone much worse, and they had destroyed an entire star system to do it. The test star was gone. The Dyson structure, which had taken years to build, was gone. Billions of units of wealth vaporized in seconds, but Earth and the other inhabited worlds still existed. Trillions of lives had been saved. When she thought of it that way, the price seemed small. A message came through from Ambassador Chun. The Council wants to honor you and your crew. They're planning some kind of ceremony. Mitchell sighed. She had never been good at ceremonies. Can't they honor us by letting us go home? My crew is exhausted. I'll see what I can do. But Sarah, you should know. What you did today changed everything. Humans are no longer the new species, the ones everyone watches with suspicion. You're heroes now. The species that did what no one else could do. Mitchell thought about that. She wasn't sure she liked the sound of it. Heroes got called on when things went bad. Heroes were expected to fix impossible problems. We just did what needed doing, she said. That's what makes you heroes. Chum replied. 3 months after the Devourers died, Ambassador Chun stood in a garden on the council station. Real plants grew here, brought from dozens of worlds. Some had flowers that glowed in the dark. Others had leaves that sang when the wind touched them. It was a place of peace, built to remind everyone what they were protecting. She was not alone. Captain Mitchell stood beside her, along with Engineer David Park. All 3 wore formal uniforms, earth blue with silver trim. They had just come from the ceremony, where the council had given them medals and made speeches about courage and sacrifice. I hate speeches, Mitchell said quietly. Chun smiled. They mean well. They mean well and they talk forever, Park added. That Morvith representative went on for an hour. I thought he might still be talking if someone hadn't reminded him to breathe. Morvith don't breathe, Chun pointed out. That explains a lot. They stood in comfortable silence for a while. Then Mitchell asked the question that had been on her mind for weeks. What happens now? The Devourers are gone. We're not needed anymore. Chun had been thinking about that too. The council offered Earth a permanent seat. Full membership. We would have equal say in all decisions. That's good, isn't it? Park asked. It's complicated, Chun replied. Earth would gain influence, but also responsibility. We would be expected to help with problems across the galaxy. Our ships, our people, our resources. Humans would become peacekeepers, explorers, problem solvers. Mitchell nodded slowly. They want us to be the galaxy's emergency response team. In a way, yes. Because we showed we can do what others can't. We think differently. We find solutions no one else sees. That's a lot of pressure, Park said. It is, Chun agreed. And Earth's government is still debating what to do. Some people think we should accept. Others think we should focus on our own development first. We're still so new to all of this. A figure approached through the garden. It was the Cathril ambassador, his scales a calm green color. He moved with the grace of a dancer, weaving between the plants without disturbing them. Forgive the interruption, he said. But I was hoping to speak with you, Ambassador Chun. Of course. The Cathril looked at Mitchell and Park. What I have to say concerns all of you, actually. May I speak freely? Please, Chun said. The Cathril settled onto a bench designed for his body shape. I wanted to thank you properly. Not with speeches and medals, but with truth. When we first invited humans to the council, many species were against it. They thought you were too primitive, too violent, too unpredictable. We can be all those things, Mitchell said with a slight smile. Yes, but that is not all you are. You are also creative and brave and stubbornly optimistic. When we told you about the Devourers, I expected you to be afraid. And you were, but you did not let fear stop you. You asked how to win, not how to survive. He paused, his scales shifting to a deeper shade. My people remember the first war against the Devourers. We remember the despair we felt when we realized we could not kill them, only trap them. For 10,000 years, we lived with the knowledge that our solution was temporary. That one day they would wake up and we would have to face them again. But now they're gone, Park said. Now they are gone, the Catherall agreed. Because humans refuse to accept that some problems have no solution. You looked at an impossible situation and asked, what if? That is your gift to the galaxy. Chun felt a warm feeling in her chest. We were just doing what anyone would do. No, the Catherall said gently. That is where you are wrong. Most species, when faced with the impossible, accept it. Humans do not. Humans push harder. Humans find another way. Mitchell crossed her arms. That sounds nice, but it's not always a good thing. Sometimes humans push too hard. Sometimes we break things that should not be broken. True, the Catherall acknowledged. But is it not better to push and sometimes fail than to never push at all? The galaxy has become comfortable. We have had peace for so long that we forgot how to fight. We forgot how to innovate. We forgot how to take risks. And then we showed up, Chun said. And then you showed up. Young and reckless and full of ideas we had never considered. At first, we thought you would mature and become like us. Now I realize we were wrong. We do not want you to become like us. We want to learn from you. Park laughed nervously. That's a scary thought. Humans teaching the galaxy. Perhaps, the Catherall said. But consider what you have already taught us. You taught us that impossible problems can be solved. You taught us to look at old challenges with new eyes. You taught us that sometimes the best solution is not the most elegant one, but the one that actually works. He stood up, preparing to leave. Earth will make its own decision about joining the Council. Whatever you choose, know that you have already changed us. The galaxy will never be quite the same. After he left, the three humans sat in the garden, thinking about his words. Do you think he's right? Park asked. About humans being different? Chun considered it. I think every species is different. Everyone has something unique to offer. But maybe we do have a particular kind of stubbornness. We see a wall and we want to know what's on the other side. And if we can't find a door, we make one, Mitchell added. Or we dig under it. Or we blow it up. Exactly, Chun said. That's what made us successful. Not that we're smarter or stronger than other species. But we refuse to quit. We try things others think are crazy. And sometimes, somehow, those crazy things work. Park looked up at the garden ceiling, which showed a projection of stars. So what do we do now? Do we stay and help the galaxy? Or do we go home and focus on Earth? I don't know, Chun admitted. But I think we have to decide soon. Because the Catherall is right about one thing. We've changed the galaxy just by being here. Other species are watching us, learning from us. That's a responsibility we can't ignore. Even if we wanted to, Mitchell said. Over the next few weeks, more discussions happened. The council made its offer official. Earth would have a full seat with all the rights and responsibilities that came with it. In return, Earth would contribute ships and personnel to help with galactic problems. It would share technology and knowledge. It would be a partner, not just a member. The debate on Earth was fierce. Some people worried about losing independence. Others worried about being dragged into conflicts that were not Earth's concern. But in the end, the argument that won was simple. Humans did not become a spacefaring species just to stay in one corner of the galaxy. They reached for the stars because they wanted to explore, to learn, to be part of something larger. And now they had a chance to be part of the largest community that existed. Earth accepted the Council's offer. Ambassador Chun delivered the news in a formal session. The chamber erupted in cheers from some species, thoughtful silence from others. The cathedral scales flashed bright green, a sign of joy. The Morvith rumbled with what might have been laughter or approval. Later, when the session ended, Chum found herself back in the garden with Mitchell and Park. "We did it," Park said. "We're really part of the Galactic Council now." "Not just part of it," Mitchell corrected. "Equal members. That means we have a voice in everything that happens." Chun nodded. "And that means we have work to do. The galaxy has problems we haven't even heard about yet. Places that need help. Mysteries that need solving." "Sounds like an adventure," Park said. "It will be," Chun agreed. "A long one. Probably with a lot of challenges and mistakes along the way." "That's fine," Mitchell said. "Humans are good at learning from mistakes. We've had plenty of practice." They looked out at the stars together, thinking about the future. It was uncertain and probably difficult. There would be conflicts and misunderstandings. There would be times when the partnership was tested, but there would also be discoveries and friendships. There would be new worlds to explore and new ideas to share. There would be moments when humans and aliens worked together to achieve something neither could do alone. And when the next impossible problem arose, when the next threat appeared that seemed too large to face, Earth would be ready. Because humans had proven something important. They had proven that impossible just meant no one had found the right solution yet. Chun smiled as she thought about it. The Devourers were gone. Humanity had earned its place among the stars. And somewhere out there, in the vast darkness of space, new adventures were waiting. "Come on," she said to Mitchell and Park. "We have a lot to do. Earth is going to need ambassadors, explorers, teachers, builders. People who can work with other species and help bridge the gap between human thinking and alien thinking." "You make it sound easy," Park said. "It won't be," Chun replied. "But we're humans. We'll figure it out." And as they walked back through the garden toward the council chambers, where work and responsibility waited, all three of them felt the same thing. Not fear of the unknown, but excitement for it. Because that was what humans did best. They looked at the impossible and said, "Why not?" And then they made it possible.